With wireless, we have to connect to something, and that is access points. So what do we need to know about access points? We'll find out next right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
We are going to be taking a look at different types of access point concepts, and I didn't really know that there were so many things to talk about, Anthony, when it comes down to it. But Anthony Sequeira is here, of course, to help guide us, to help us understand. So Anthony, when we start talking about, and I'm dead serious about this, I was like, an access point is an access point is an access point. What do I really need to know? But on the Encore, we need to know a lot more than I think.
Yeah, we need to delve deep into the APs because it is a major concept for us at the Encore level. Let's take a look. And we start with a bit of review from an earlier episode that Ronnie and I did with you in Encore. Let's remember, there's two types. And I'm so glad we're bringing this up again because, Ronnie, I told you after the previous episode where we had discussed this that I forgot to mention something.
Oh.
And that is that a lot of Cisco APs can operate in either of these modes.
Right.
They all can't do that, but some can. So you could tell the AP, look, you're autonomous, what we call a thick access point, not as in unintelligent. That would be the lightweight access point. But thick as far as what it can do. It possesses the control plane intelligence, if necessary, to function for us on the wireless LAN. The lightweight access point, if that's all it can do, it can't switch into an autonomous mode of operation. The lightweight AP, it is thin. It is not intelligent. It doesn't have the control plane intelligence that's needed. Now, when we're talking about your autonomous AP, note that it's going to connect to your layer 2 infrastructure using a trunk, and its SSIDs are going to be associated with VLANs. So you are trunking them over to the connected switch. Interestingly, with lightweight APs, you are connecting via an access port. You're not trunking, and the intelligence is delivered through a tunnel. And we need you to know that it's the CAP-WAP tunnel. This is now an open standard. It's based on a Cisco proprietary, it was like lightweight, blah, blah, blah.
It's LWAPP.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the lightweight access point protocol.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I stink at that game, and I just got that one right, which is really funny because I don't work with that one often. Weird how the mind works. So this CAP-WAP is this great technology that allows there to be a secured tunnel between the wireless LAN controller and the access point, and that's going to basically be two tunnels in one, because we have the transmission of like, here's your configuration, little AP, and we also have the transmission of the data of, you know, the clients out there that are communicating. So CAP-WAP, a key technology for those lightweight access points. So let's talk about a day in the life of an AP. There are states, and this kind of reminds us of like the BGP neighbor states, right? Very similar thing. We're going to walk through, you know, the various states that that AP can be in. Note, we are focusing on, of course, the lightweight mode of operation. So the AP point boots up and it needs an IP address. Would you think DHCP would be in use here? Yes, oftentimes that's exactly what's going to happen. The AP uses DHCP to give itself an IP address, and it loads its iOS image. As we'll see coming up, that image may be blasted off it and upgraded by the wireless LAN controller, but there is that initial image that loads. Then we go into the discovery of the wireless LAN controller. This is critical. Because it's so critical, there are multiple ways to get this done. The device can have the internal intelligence, more on this in a moment, of who it's supposed to use for a WLC, so it'll just start using that WLC. If it doesn't have that, Another common way to get it is DHCP in conjunction with DNS. What you have happen is DHCP option 43 is used to indicate the wireless LAN controller. From a DNS perspective, there's a well-known DNS name that can be utilized, and it's Cisco-capwap-controller and then your local domain. You're probably wondering, why is Anthony going into this level of detail? Because if you're interested in the Encore exam, this is the level of detail I want you to take this to. Now, there is a third option. So Ronnie, we had the internal knowledge. We had DHCP/DNS giving us the knowledge. The third option, help. It could work perfectly well that the AP is broadcasting for a wireless LAN controller on that local segment. So that's interesting. It's like a if all else fails type methodology. Now, I'll give you more detail on that in a moment, because we have to just talk a little bit about, well, how would the wireless LAN controller be chosen? What's that process look like? All right, so we find our wireless LAN controller. The AP gets happy right away, and then the CAP-WAP tunnel must be established. There's got to be security here, and there is. There's a version of TLS called DTLS that is used for the security, and you can utilize, yay, digital certificates so that that AP knows that it can securely authenticate against the wireless LAN controller and vice versa.
And that DLTS is the datagram TLS version, if I remember correctly.
Transport layer security.
Transport layer security, yep.
And thanks for that, because
Yep.
I wouldn't have known what the D is. And then we have the wireless LAN controller joined. So now the two are happy. And now that they're authenticated against each other and happy, the wireless LAN controller can give the AP the appropriate image. It can give it the appropriate configuration. And now your AP is in run state, like a 5K. And it's just doing its thing. Happy, hey, clients, everything's great. It can hit a reset state. So the wireless LAN controller certainly has the ability to push down a reset to that access point. And you could see this happening with like, whoa, there's a, security update. And this AP must be patched right away. So there's all kinds of conditions that would cause the AP to hit that reset state initiated by the wireless LAN controller. There's also reset states where the AP could detect that, oh my gosh, I need a reset. So we don't see that a lot, obviously, in a normal network situation.
Now, before you move on there on
Sure.
the states here, it actually reminds me a lot of setting up thin clients is what it reminds me of.
Absolutely.
So that seems kind of like the same analogy that we could use that may kind of help us.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Ronnie. And something else I wanted to say here is this is a major theme in networking, isn't it?
Right.
This concept of a controller. I mean, think about it. Cisco DNA Center with SD Access and SD-WAN and Cisco's ACI, the application-centric infrastructure. And all these technologies are following this whole controller paradigm for the brains of the operation, and the devices can just focus on what they do best, the data plane.
Yeah.
It's really pretty cool. So, Ronnie, I wanted to just quickly walk through the wireless LAN controller like choice situation. There's a term that I want our learners to know, Ronnie, that's primed. Okay, we say, oh, that AP is primed. That just means that it's made a relationship with a wireless LAN controller, and that doesn't need to change. So, that is great that the AP has previously discovered its wireless LAN controller. It's a great, healthy relationship. And that's what the AP is going to continue to do. Now, the second aspect of this can be that discovery process. And there is an internal process that's used if a whole bunch of wireless LAN controllers responded to the AP. It clearly has a process that we don't need to know, but there's clearly a process for picking one of the many that are responding. But then the third option that is really interesting is the access point can look at the loading data of the wireless LAN controllers. So that's really interesting. The WLCs can communicate out to the APs how busy they are. Oh. And this is such a cool capability, because now the AP can go, wow, I think I'll choose WLC number 3 because it's not that busy. Mm-hmm. It's not doing that much. So there's a nice built-in load balancing approach that works out great. Least loaded. That sounds like a reference to a college party and who's going to drive. All right. So let's talk about this subject. And this is interesting, Ronnie.
Oh, yeah.
This is holy modes, Batman. These are all of the potential modes. There's actually a few more than this, but these are the ones we absolutely should know. The modes that an AP is going to function in. The default mode, the mode that we see the most often, the foundational mode is called local.
Right.
And what's interesting about this on these new exciting APs that Cisco is generating now is that doesn't mean when they're not doing their main function for their client, they just sit there waiting. No, these things are getting really sophisticated. For example, when your AP is not busy servicing clients, it can start doing rogue AP detection for you. Sure, that's a mode we could put it in where that's all it does, but isn't that clever that when they're not busy with clients, they can start doing other functions, other little mini mode functions, if you will. And then the minute they start getting busy with clients, they go, oh, I'm not doing rogue detection anymore. Thanks. So very interesting there. The monitor mode. Okay, if we put it into monitor mode, now it is just strictly doing some various things like rogue detection, intrusion detection for us. It can help in monitor mode locate clients. If one of the things that's super important to you is putting RFID tags on super expensive pieces of equipment or critical pieces of equipment, like in a medical hospital type situation, I don't know what other hospital there would be, by the way, but in a situation like that where we need to track things, well, the monitor mode, the device can really just be for tracking. Flex Connect. Now, we talked about this, Ronnie, before. Remember, this is that really cool mode of operation where we have the wireless LAN controller at headquarters and we have the AP at a branch office and a slowish WAN link is between them. The Flex Connect is great for that type of a relationship. And one of the cool things about Flex Connect is that the access point can suddenly go, uh-oh, can't do CapWAP, and I'll just start doing the old traditional VLAN approach for servicing the local client. So Flex Connect has all kinds of advantages to accommodate a potentially slow, potentially unstable WAN link. There's sniffer mode. You can put the AP in a analyzer mode and grab packets for analysis in something like Wireshark. There's rogue detector mode, where all it's doing is looking out for the rogue access point. There's bridge mode. Bridge, like a bridge between troubled waters. I also stink with song lyrics. The bridge mode is simply connecting networks. Take this to the extreme, and your APs, a bunch of them in bridge mode, form a wireless mesh. And that's a cool feature. There's Flex Plus Bridge. What do you think this device is doing? Well, it's honoring the Flex Connect relationship. So it's out at out at a branch office with a slow WAN link back to HQ where the WLC lives. And not only is it doing that, it's also in a mesh typically. So it can do the 2 roles. And then finally, there's an SE Connect. And this is, again, putting the access point in a mode where it can be collecting data for analysis. It's called SC because Cisco has a product called Cisco Spectrum Expert, and that's what the SC stands for. But I do want to point out that this mode can work with other vendors that Cisco has approved to do the analysis for you. So there can be some tricky questions here, like, what mode would you be in for analysis? Well, I hope the exam author doesn't give Sniffer and SE Connect,
right,
because that would be impossible if it was a choose one. And of course, the exam authors do a good job of not, tricking us in that way.
Yeah, with that particular list of modes that you have there as well, there's something else that you want to make sure that you pay attention to, which is when clients can connect. Because some of these modes, clients are not going to be able to connect as well. So you do want to make sure that you go back through and you pay attention. I know local, of course, clients can connect, but when it's actually in road detector, it's not.
That's right.
It's not going to actually detect.
That's right. It's just there for the security function, and a client wouldn't be able to connect, Ronnie.
Yeah, and that SE Connect is kind of like their big tool that they really want to make sure that you can use. Now, on this one, though, Anthony, on a wireless controller, I was able to go ahead and console directly into that access point and manually configure these if I wanted to, right from the command line. So all you have to do is actually type in that mode there, the Cisco AP mode or something like that. I don't remember the exact command.
Sure.
And that once that does, you can open it up and then you can see the number of the different modes that are available on that particular access point, because not every single one has every one of these.
Yep. And it's worth pointing out, based on what Ronnie just said too, a reminder, while the primary configuration touch point is a graphical user interface for your WLC and your APs, don't forget there's always a CLI. I can't think of any Cisco product where there wasn't a CLI.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to go to the CLI. Sometimes you're absolutely forced to go there. You wouldn't, because the GUI is primary, but you do have to go there sometimes. Well, let's wrap up our discussion of access points by talking about their antennae.
Right.
Antenna is singular, antennae is plural?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's 2 basic types that you need to know. There's the omnidirectional, and 2 examples of this are a dipole and an integrated. So you could have an integrated omnidirectional. A lot of Cisco's access points, there's no visible antenna. Have you seen that?
Right.
It's this little UFO looking thing mounted to the ceiling. That is almost always going to be the integrated omnidirectional antenna that's trying to give us a nice broad coverage. You can see I have a little diagram there showing what that, coverage looks like, and it's trying its best to give us that full 360 degrees of coverage. And of course, there's horizontal versus vertical and, the 3D way to see the coverage, but you get the idea. With the dipole and the integrated omnidirectional, we're trying to spread the love all around. It's like the 60s. With the directional type, and we have the Yagi, if I'm pronouncing that correct, and the dish, the famous dish antenna, with those methods, notice the coverage map. It is, there's a little bit behind, a little bit off to the sides, but it is primarily shooting that signal in really great strength, but a definite bias to a particular direction. One of the cool things I've done with wireless as a consultant was the tennis club, which is outdoors that I play at. All of the tennis stuff is outdoors when we eat lunch and stuff. That's in a beautiful restaurant. But they were like, Anthony, could you help us with Wi-Fi coverage out to our main stadium courts? And I was like, can I help you? I'll gladly help you out because I want Wi-Fi out there. And one of the things that we did was we integrated a directional antenna because it was for the purpose of like a backhaul, right? We wanted that directional antenna from one antenna to another. Then we did the omnidirectional. So these can be paired beautifully to give you the RSSI that you need on those clients. And I think that's all we needed to cover, right, Ronnie?
That sounds good, Anthony. So in this episode, remember that you did talk about some of the different AP different concepts that we had to pay attention to. Make sure you pay attention to the states and the different modes that these access points can get into. And Anthony even covered a little bit about the difference between the omnidirectional and directional antennas. All this is going to be very important on the Cisco exam as well.
This seemed like a great episode for flashcards.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
So it's actually a great one that you might be able to easily cover with flashcards, and Anthony may be making some as well.
I'm going to make a ton of flashcards to get you started on cram.com. I have fallen behind, and I promise you I will get back to that. It's just that, we're also trying to get these episodes out for you because Ronnie and I's social media is filled with when are you finishing? So.
All right, well, that's a great place for us to end then. So signing off for IT Pro TV, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for more of your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.